and welcome to Rosie Sews. Today I'm going to teach you how to embroider using your PFAFF Creative 1.5 sewing and embroidery machine. Now before we get started, if you like this video and you like my channel, please subscribe and drop this video a like. Now let's get started. First thing you're going to need to do is to change the attachment. So you'll see here that we have when you get your machine, you'll have two attachments. You'll have your main machine and your embroidery machine. This is the embroidery attachment that you get with your machine. It's quite large and quite bulky, and I don't really use it that much, but this is what you need in order to get started with your embroidery. So first thing you need to do is to remove the current attachment. So the attachment just slides off, and it shouldn't take too much jerking. It should be very simple to pull this off the machine. Like so. And then we get our embroidery attachment and we pop that on. Now underneath you'll see that there is a small lever that helps you to connect it to your machine. So you want to pull that lever and it releases the latch, and then you let go and it clicks onto the machine. So I'll show you how to do that. And it should click into place. So now we've got our machine all set up, ready to go for embroidery. Now with your PFAFF Creative machine, you will have a pedal, which you don't really need for embroidery, but I'm going to plug it in anyway. And then you'll have your normal attachment, is how you turn your machine on. So we're going to pop that in. The normal attachment goes into the side. So you'll see here, pop that in. And then the lever attachment, the pedal attachment has got one of these, and that's going to go into the bottom, like so. The first thing it's going to tell you to do, it's going to give you some instructions. This is what needs to happen whenever you set up your machine. So first of all, it will say to remove the hoop, disengage the IDT, and attach the embroidery presser foot. So this is what the embroidery presser foot looks like. If you can see, it's the one with the hole in the bottom, and like so. Now to pop off the presser foot, we're going to push down and it just slides off like that. It's quite easy to do. So that's our normal presser foot that's going to be popped to one side. And we're going to also have to unscrew this little screw at the back here to remove the rest of the presser foot. I never realised that when I started sewing I'd be using so many tiny little tools. Okay, that's off now, which is brilliant. And we're going to swap that with the embroidery one. And then you line it up to the hole, and we're going to screw that back in now. So there's a little screw that we took out earlier, and we start to screw that back in. This can be so fiddly to do, but once you've done it, you've done it. Now when that gets nice and tight and you can't turn it anymore, that's when you know it's on. So for embroidery as well, you're going to need some embroidery needles. Now these are some that I've got from PFAFF, and they are in different sizes. I generally use a 75, so what we're going to have to do is to swap the needle over as well. So in order to do that, you use your little screwdriver that comes with the pack, and slowly but surely start to unscrewdriver your current needle out. Here we go. That's my old one. This one I think I've used before because it's looking a little bit old, but they seem to last for a long time. Now you'll see that the embroidery needle has a flat side, and it's really hard to see. It's got a flat side and a round side, so you'll need to make sure that the flat side is to the back and that the round side is at the front. Now I know there's a little tool to help you do this, but I'm lazy and I just use my hands. And I don't think the tool is really all that necessary, especially when you have very long nails like me. So there we go. My needle, my embroidery needle is now in. So I'm going to quickly talk you through the hoop that we have. So you'll see that I have got the hoop, which is 240 by 150. Now this is the large hoop that comes with the machine. There's two pieces within this hoop. One's the outer hoop and one is the inner hoop. I'll show you how to basically put fabric in there and to secure it later. But I just wanted to show you that this is the hoop size that we have been given. Okay, so we're going to start by opening up Premiere. So Premiere is the program that you get with the PFAFF Creative embroidery machine. It comes free with the purchase. So you can see here, when I open up this screen, you have your embroidery hoop already preloaded. And you also have some grids that help you to center where you want your artwork to go. Now today I'm going to do a very simple tutorial of how you use this software and just a quick talk through. So the first thing I'm going to do is show you how to choose your hoop size. So you'll see just here we've got a hoop button. Now the hoop that comes with the machine is the large hoop, but obviously if you can choose different hoop sizes, so I'm going to go with the 240 by 150 millimeter. You can see what size hoop you've got by looking at the hoop, and it says the sizes on there, so you shouldn't be confused. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is add some text to the piece. So you've got lots of like images and things if you want. I don't think there's a huge amount that come with this software, but there are a few little things that you can have a play around with, but all of the details and all of the little extra bits that you can add are just here. You can see which ones are within the machine because you can click on them. The ones that aren't part of the machine are the ones that are grayed out. You can purchase upgrades, etc. But yeah, I haven't done that. So yeah, I just sort of use mine for text at the moment. But there are some really, really lovely things on here. It's just worth having a look at some of the designs that come with it. Okay, so let's go back. So that's how you can add some little designs. What I'm going to do though is use some text. So this is how you add the text. You've got these tabs along the top here, and I'm going to click on to text. And you'll see that the last text I use is already pre-populated. Now this is a really nice, very simple text. So what I'm going to do is then type into this box here, and whatever I type in that will just start to populate on there. So I'm currently making a present for a friend who is a new mum. So I'm going to do a little jumper with her name, well, saying mama. So it takes a bit of getting used to, and it's not the most intuitive software, but basically you can drag using these green squares on the outside to make it bigger. So this would be a really, really big design here. Or you can sort of shrink it in. You can also rotate it similarly to as you would do with Microsoft Word, using that very small little circle there. So if you want to change the text, there's lots of other text that they have, not a huge amount, but there are a few. You can have a look. I saw one earlier that I thought was quite nice. It was an athletic font, which I thought, here we go, athletic block. So you can see this says athletic block 2C, which means 2 colours. So I'm going to click on that, and that will mean that I'll need 2 colours for my embroidery thread. So I'm going to get rid of this one. If you want to get rid of it, you have to click on it and then delete it using the delete option. You can't just click delete, which is a bit annoying. So here we go. I'm going to go back to my area. I've typed in mama, and that's come up in a new text, and I think I like this one a lot more. So I'm going to just make this a bit bigger, and I'm going to center it as well. So you'll see that there is a green circle there. That is the center. So I'm going to try and fix it on as close as possible to the center of the hoop. Now, this is what my design will look like. I think that looks really cute. Yeah, I'm going to make it a tiny bit bigger. This may not work, but I hope it does. I've never done a 2-coloured one before, so this is new for me as well. So that's what my design will look like. Now these colours don't matter. It really doesn't matter what colours they are. So yeah, you can sort of choose. It doesn't matter. It's afterwards when you choose a thread, that's when it matters. So, and then stitch type, to be honest, I haven't really played around with that very much, so I'm just going to keep it as it is. Okay, so now we've got our I've accidentally doubled up, so be very careful, because every time you click enter in that box, it does add it again. So that's my design. We're going to stick to that. So the next thing you need is your USB that comes with your sewing machine. So you get a little PFAFF, if that's how you say it, PFAFF USB stick that comes with your machine. Now, I don't have a USB port on my computer, which is very annoying, so I've had to buy this little attachment for mine, but most computers have a USB port. Okay, so you can see that my little USB is now plugged into my computer. Now, I've got lots of stuff on this USB because I've also got my normal camera on here as well. So let me go back to Premiere. Okay, now I'm going to save this. So the way that we save a design is on the top bar up here, you can click File, Export. You're going to want to make sure that it's saved as a VP3. That is what it needs to be for our design. So now you'll see that the PFAFF USB has lots of little mini files in it. These are all of the pre-saved designs that are on the USB when it arrives. So I'm going to just save mine in the first folder, and I'm going to call this one Mama. So I absolutely know what it is, okay? And it's all saved on there. Right, so the next thing we need to do is go over to our sewing machine. Okay, now we've got our sewing machine all set up with the embroidery attachment on, and I've already popped back our USB back into here. Okay, now let's move on and turn this machine on, and I'll show you what you need to do with the screen. Okay, so when you first turn the machine on, it's going to say remove the hoop, so that was a hoop that I showed you earlier. Disengage the IDT and attach the embroidery, press a third. Now we've done all of that, so you don't have to worry. So I'm just going to press OK, and you'll see when I do that, the machine starts to move, and it makes quite a horrible creaking sound at the end, but that's all fine, so don't worry. So this is what your main embroidery screen will look like. So in order to get to the design that we made earlier, we click on the love heart, and that will open up a number of files. So I'm going to go down to the second file, which is the embroidery design files. And you'll see here, similar to what we had on the computer earlier, we have got different files. So I think I saved mine in the top file. And here are a few of the ones that I've done. When you first open up your machine, it will have these things, CR001, they're all different designs. But keep scrolling down until you find the one that you have just saved. There we go, Mama. You can see I've also tried to embroider a dressing gown. So Mama is the one that I want. So I'm going to click on that, click OK, and the machine moves. And you'll roughly see that on the screen, it roughly shows the design that I made. It's very, very rough. This here, the 240 by 150, that's our hoop. That here, so the 250 by 150, that is our hoop size. 8,887, now that's how many, oops, can you see that? 8,887, that's how many stitches there are in colour 1. 15,290 is how many stitches there are all together, which is a lot, and there's a lot of room for error here. This means number 1, but there are 2 colours of stitches. So it's going to start with stitch number, it's going to start with colour 1. So you can see that's 1 of 2. Okay, so next thing I need to do is to get some fabric and actually put it into the hoop. For this next part, we're going to need some stabilising paper. This will help to keep the fabric nice and firm when we're embroidering. I bought a huge roll of this and it really wasn't that much. I think, oh gosh, probably about £20 for a whole roll this big, and this is probably going to last me a really long time. So we need some stabilising paper that comes in a giant roll. We'll also need the fabric that we're going to sew this onto. So I have got a jumper, you can see. I bought this jumper pre-made, and I'm just going to embroider that nice message on for my friend. The next thing we'll need is our hoop. This in the corner, this creates the tension, so we can have it tense by screwing it in, or we can loosen the tension. And this little pop out actually enables you to move that inner hoop quite easily. I may have said earlier, but just so we know what kind of size hoop we're dealing with, it does say it there, 240 by 150. You'll also notice that the hoop has got some notches on it. So you would think that these notches, if you can see here, is in the center of the hoop, but it's not. So don't be confused. There's another one down here, another one here. Now this one is central, and another one here, and this one's also central. So very strangely, the one in the top is actually not the middle. So you'll probably want to just mark the actual true middle, which is roughly about here. So just something to bear in mind that I've learned on my little journey when things have been slightly off center. I've been wondering why, and that's what it is. Okay, so when we place the hoop into the machine, we place it with the 240 times 150 facing us. So it slots in using this little side thing here. So we know that this is the top and this is the bottom. But because this design is on the side, we always work that this is the top and this is the bottom. So I'm going to start by pulling out some of this stabilising paper. So I'm just going to chop that roughly to size. This doesn't need to be neat because it will all rip off anyway. Okay, so that's our stabilising paper, and then we're going to pop this in together. So we put the stabilising paper in first, like so, and it will be like that. And we're going to try and capture the jumper in here. So I'm going to pull this off, and I'm going to slot this inside of the jumper. And now because it's already a pre-made one, it's a little bit more difficult. So we've got our hoop in here. You can't see it. Maybe if I can show you. We've got our hoop in here, and we've got our stabilising paper on top of the hoop. We've only got the bottom layer of the hoop in there. Now I want to make sure the stabilising paper is covering both of the sides. And now the next step is to try and make it central and straight. And we'll be able to tell that once we've got the top in. Okay, once you've adjusted that tension slightly, it should all slot into place, like so. Okay, so now we have that in and stabilised. You can see that's what it's going to look like when we pop it onto our machine. So the next thing we need to do is to choose our thread. Now for embroidery, you do need a different kind of thread, which can be a little bit annoying because it's slightly more expensive. However, I'm not sure why it's different, but I think it's often a little bit more shinier. Now the brand that I've gone for is Madeira, but there's lots of other brands out there to choose from. Because I'm doing this on a grey jumper, trying to think about what colours would go nicely. You know, I think I might go for silver and white. So I kind of love the idea that this is on a grey t-shirt and it's going to be silver on the outside and then white on the inside. So now I've made my mind up. So get rid of my old sewing machine thread, which we don't need anymore. Now I've finally got a clean bobbin, I'm going to do my bobbin. Okay, so here is the top of the machine. So I'm going to put on my thread, here we go, onto the little spoolie thing. And then I am not sure if there is a proper way to do this or not, but this is what I do and it works for me. So I go round that one there, hook it onto this one just here, and then I go around that bolt, and then I place it onto my bobbin. You should be able to see that that is now in that little hole there. And then in order to wind my bobbin, I push it from the normal place it's in to the right hand side, and then I press down on my pedal. So let's go. So we're going to put our fully wound bobbin in here. We're going to pull that thread around following that arrow all the way here, and there's a little cutter there, razor, and I've popped that back in and it should cut off the excess thread. All sorted. Now to thread our normal machine, we do this as we would normally. So it goes in here, all the way round. We follow the arrow down, all the way down, we loop it back up, we hook it at the back and pull it all the way down. Then if you don't know how to do this, I'll quickly show you. This is how you automatically thread your foot. So you pull your piece of thread, hook it on this little hook, which is here, you can see that hook. You hook it onto that and then pull, and it should thread itself in. It should, but it didn't. I probably went a bit too quick, so let me hook it on, pull through, pull tight, and it's hooked itself through. Now you can see, and I'm just going to unhook that and pull the rest of the thread through. There we go. So now we're ready to start sewing. So now I'm going to attach my hoop. So I'm going to pull the back up and make sure that's not going to be caught underneath. And I'm going to lift up the foot as high as I possibly can so I can fit my hoop through it and slide all of my fabric that I don't want to be sewn onto here. And then I'm going to make sure that everything is just at the back, like so. And we're going to have to be really careful that none of this excess fabric actually falls onto the machine while we're sewing, embroidering even. Okay, next thing we're going to do is we're going to slot, this is quite an important bit, slot this little bit here into here. There you go, there's a small lever here. I'm going to push that down, and that's in and secure, and it should click into place. So then the next thing we do is press go. You've got your design all set up, we know we're in our colour one, we've got around 8,000 stitches to do, we press play. So, oh sorry, we need to lower our presser foot, so it's given me a lovely reminder there. So that's going down. Now, in order to lower the presser foot, we've got this little hook here and we push that down. So that's all settled. And then we press OK to say thank you for that little reminder. And we press the play button. Now I like to do this, and you can see it's starting to move into the first stitch position, and it's off. It's going. Looks like it's doing it nicely. Now the machine is just going on its own. I'm not having to do anything on this embroidery process, which is amazing. The one thing I will have to do very occasionally is when the machine stops and it makes a beep noise, and it will ask me to just cut the thread. So that's all I'll need to do, and then it will continue on. Normally that happens after each letter. You might have to just cut the thread and it will re-move on, which is great. So now let's just see how it's going and watch the process. I can see it's starting to come to the end of this letter now, so I'm imagining in a moment the screen might change and it might ask me to cut the thread. So let's see. So it looks like it's auto cut without me, so it doesn't, oh no, here we go. So it sends a little notification to say cut thread end. So okay, so we will press the chop button. Oh sorry, we need to accept the notification, and we will press chop. and we will press play again. And that will now move on to the second letter. So you can see that the embroidery is now finished, and the next thing I'm going to need to do is just to remove the hoop from the machine. So in order to do that, we go back to the section on the left hand side with the little lever. We push that down and then slowly pull the hoop out of the machine. It's a bit hard to do this one-handed, so bear with me. I'm really loving how this design looks. It's actually come out so much better than what I originally thought. So when your design is done, you take it out of the hoop. Here you go, here's my finished one. I added a little bit extra to put my friend's name on there as well. And then on the inside, you'll just want to pull off the stabilising paper and neaten up all of the loose threads that you'll have. But pretty much, that is it. I think this is a really lovely present to make for someone, or just like embroidering things just makes them a little bit more sentimental, doesn't it? So I know now that I have got back used to how I use my sewing machine, I'm going to be doing a lot more embroidery in the future. So I really hope you've enjoyed this video and it's really helped you to understand how to use your PFAFF Creative sewing machine a little bit more and how to use some of the embroidery functionality.